So, this happened a while ago when I was living with a roommate. Nothing about him ever seemed off. We weren't super close, but we got along fine. Just normal apartment stuff. One night, I woke up to a noise. It was really faint, like something moving. I thought it was just a building, pipes or something, so I just lay there for a bit. Then I heard it again. This time it sounded closer, like right next to me. That's when I realized it was coming from under my bed. I remember just laying there, completely still, trying to listen, hoping it would stop. But then I heard this dragging sound, very slow, like fabric moving across the floor. At that point, I was fully awake, and I had this really bad feeling in my stomach, like something wasn't right. So I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and slowly leaned over the side of the bed. I didn't even want to look, but I did. And when I pointed the light under the bed, I saw my roommate. He was just lying there, flat on his back, staring straight at me, eyes wide open. I froze. I didn't even process what I was looking at. And then he suddenly screamed, like full-on panic. I jumped back and almost fell off the bed. My heart was pounding. I didn't understand what was happening. He crawled out from under the bed really fast. He looked just as freaked out as I was. I asked him what the hell he was doing under there. At first he didn't say anything. He just kept breathing really heavily. And then he said something that honestly scared me even more. He told me he'd been going under my bed sometimes, just lying there. He said he liked being close. Sometimes he would just listen. Sometimes he would fall asleep there. I didn't even know what to say to that. I just told him to get out of my room. I barely slept that night. The worst part is, I have no idea how long he'd been doing it. And now I can't stop thinking about it. Because there were definitely nights where I thought I heard something and just ignored it. So yeah, lock your doors and maybe don't ignore sounds under your bed. Just in case. A few years ago, I was out with a friend one night. We just left a bar and were standing outside talking, deciding whether we should head home or go somewhere else. It was pretty late, not many people around. That's when this guy walked up to us. At first, nothing seemed strange. He looked completely normal, mid-20s maybe, calm, not drunk, or at least not obviously. He just kind of joined the conversation. You know how that happens sometimes outside bars. People come and go, talk for a bit. So we didn't think much of it. He started talking to us like he already knew us. Not in a weird way, just very comfortable. Then he asked us a question. Have you guys heard about the murder? I remember laughing a little at first. I thought he was joking. I asked him what he meant, and he just looked at me, completely serious. Then he said the name of a nearby area, somewhere not far from where we were, and he started telling us about it. At first, it sounded like something you'd hear on the news. A girl had been killed, recently. But he kept going, and the way he described it felt off. He wasn't just repeating something he'd heard. He was describing it in detail, way too much detail. Things like where it happened exactly, how it happened, what she looked like. I remember glancing at my friend at that point, like, are you hearing this too? But the guy just kept talking, calm, almost detached, like he was telling a story he'd practiced before. At one point I asked him how he knew all this. He just said, she was my girlfriend. That kind of changed the mood immediately. We both got quiet, didn't really know what to say. I think I said something like, I'm sorry, or something, but he didn't react to that at all. He just kept talking, still giving details, still calm. And the more he talked, the more uncomfortable it felt, because it didn't feel like someone grieving. It felt like someone remembering. After a while, we made an excuse and left. We both agreed it was one of the weirdest interactions we'd ever had, but at the time, we didn't think much more of it. Just a strange guy. We'd forget about it. The next day, everything changed. I woke up and checked my phone and saw the news. There had been a murder in the exact place he mentioned. Same details, same girl. And then I saw his face. They had arrested someone, a suspect, and it was him. The same guy we talked to the night before, standing right there, talking to us, telling us everything. Turns out, he didn't hear about it. He did it. And what really sticks with me is this. When he was telling us the story, he wasn't nervous. He wasn't emotional. He was calm. Like he wasn't talking about something that just happened, but something that already belonged to him. So yeah, if a stranger walks up to you late at night and starts telling you a story like that, maybe you don't stick around to hear the ending, because sometimes they're not telling you what happened. They're telling you what they did. I'm starting to think someone was living in my house and I didn't know. This started a few months ago. At first, it was really small things. Stuff that was easy to ignore. Food would go missing. Not a lot. Just enough that I noticed it. Like I'd buy something, eat some of it, and then the next day, there was less than I remembered. I just assumed I forgot. Then things started moving. I'd leave something on the counter, and later it would be somewhere else. Not far, just different. Again, I told myself I was just being forgetful. But after a while, it started happening more often. Cabinet doors would be slightly open. Lights I didn't remember turning on. Nothing major, just enough to make me feel off. I live alone, by the way, so there wasn't really anyone else it could be. I even started joking about it, telling friends I had a ghost or something. But I didn't actually believe that. Until one night. I woke up to a sound, very faint. At first I thought it was outside, like maybe someone walking past the house. But then I heard it again, and this time it was above me, from the ceiling. I just lay there, staring up, trying to listen. It sounded like slow movement, like someone shifting their weight. I remember my first thought was, there's no way someone is up there. There's just a small attic space above my bedroom. You can only get to it through a hatch in the hallway. I hadn't opened it in months. I told myself it was probably the house settling. Wood expands, contracts, makes noise. But this didn't sound like that. This sounded deliberate, slow, careful, like someone trying not to be heard. I didn't sleep much after that. The next morning, I checked the house. Everything looked normal. I even looked up at the attic hatch. It was closed, but it looked slightly off, like it wasn't sitting the way it usually does. I stood there for a while, just staring at it. And I had this really strong feeling that I shouldn't open it. So I didn't. After that night, things got worse. Food disappeared faster. Things moved more often. And sometimes I'd come home and just feel like something was wrong. Like the air was different. Like I wasn't alone. Then one night, I heard it again. The same sound, but this time it was louder, clearer. Like footsteps, slow, moving across the ceiling. I sat up in bed, completely still, listening. And then it stopped, right above me. I didn't move for a long time. I didn't want to make any noise. It felt like if I did, whatever was up there would know I was awake. The next day, I called someone. I didn't want to check it out alone, so a friend came over. I tried to act normal, but I think he could still tell something was off. I told him everything. He laughed at first, said I was being paranoid, but he still agreed to check the attic with me. We stood under the hatch for a minute, and I remember my heart was pounding, because now I couldn't ignore it anymore. If something was up there, we were about to find out. He opened it slowly. The ladder came down, and for a second, nothing happened. Just darkness above us. Then he climbed up. I stayed below. I didn't want to go up there. I just listened. He was quiet for a few seconds, and then he said, "There's stuff up here." That's when my stomach dropped. He came back down, and he looked completely different, not laughing anymore. He told me there were things in the attic, not old storage, not junk, stuff that didn't belong there. Food wrappers, bottles, and something else. A place where someone had been lying down, like they'd been staying there. We called the police after that. They came and checked everything, but they didn't find anyone. No person, just signs that someone had been there. And the worst part is, there's no way to know when they left, or if they were still there while we were in the house. I still think about those nights, all the times I heard something and ignored it, all the times things moved and I told myself it was nothing. Because now I know someone was living in my house, right above me, for who knows how long. And I never once saw them.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy mysterious and eerie stories like these and want more, consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.